is Jason J. Rock Houston, and you're listening to episode 2 of the Music Crypt with Dan Montgomery. And welcome once again, Dan. And today, once again, we're going to be doing like we were telling people last time. We're going to be mixing up with talking about music and horror. So let's get right into it. Since it's getting ready to be the Halloween season, I know you'd wanted to discuss, first of all, some of your favorite horror movies. So why don't we get right into that?
Right on. So, I had to probably start off with like the one that pretty much started it all off for me, and that was like, I think it was in 1941, The Wolfman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like a kid, back in like the late 60s. I was like channel surfing,
Yeah.
And it was like a Friday night or something like that, and I landed on some freaking local horror show, like a Elvira show or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was a Wolfman. And that channel like exposed me to all the Universal movie monsters, like the Mummy and Dracula and all those really cool ones.
What age would you say you were at this time, like when you seen the Wolfman, I guess, for the first time?
Let's see, I would have been 6.
And how freaked out did you get when you seen that? I mean, for the first time.
I was just sitting there. All I can remember is just sitting there, just looking at the TV with my mouth hanging open, going, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
Yeah. Wow. So that's the one to start. And it's amazing because a lot of those classic, especially the Universal movies, black and white ones from back in the day, to me, those are still classics. And I don't care what you say. To me, I think those are almost the best horror movies ever. Yeah, and I mean, just think about the Wolfman for a minute. I mean, as a little 6-year-old, I mean, you've probably never seen anything like that, and I bet as a little 6-year-old, you thought it was so real. You had no idea it was a guy in a costume, right?
It was really cool. I mean, considering what else was on TV at the time, I mean, that was just it was a total switch for me. Yeah,
and talking about horror and TV for a little bit, can't help but also talk about the monsters, because one of the classic all-time I would say horror movies has got to be Frankenstein. And Frankenstein obviously is like, it's kind of a monster that was made in a laboratory, but if anybody is a fan of the monsters, Herman Munster very much resembles, let's say, Frankenstein, but very much it's a comedic take on Frankenstein. What did you think the first time you saw the monsters on TV?
Yeah, the monsters were cool. I mean, that's why I liked them. Is they were basically a family of monsters.
Yeah.
Except for the daughter, she was the only normal one, but they considered her to be ugly.
Yeah, she was a freak of the family. They're like, wow, what do you?
But that was just a really awesome show. I mean, it had so much stuff going on. It even had what's his name's hot rods in it. Ed Roth, I think his name is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
With Dracula and Rob Zombie used Dracula.
Yeah.
In his video.
Yeah.
It's just really cool stuff, and it's just part of that whole moving monster kind of
vibe thing,
mindset. Yeah. See, like the Addams Family, they weren't quite as creepy.
Yeah.
As the monsters, but they had their own little kind of psychedelic psychosis going on.
even Cousin Ed, and I forget what they call it, but the animal that lived under the dungeon, and everybody was freaked out by that. I mean, just because it was so different,
Oh yeah. It was like a dragon, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Dragon under the stairs.
Yeah, and the monsters even had their pet Spot, but you never really saw it. It was kind of like a dragon too. Like you'd see a puff of smoke or fire, every time it come out, and people just freaked out by that. It was so funny back in the day.
Yeah, it was just really cool stuff, and then somewhere along the way, all that black and white just went away.
Yeah.
I think maybe that started with like Last House on the Left or something like that.
Yeah.
Where it went from just kind of a family-oriented horror show to something where you're going, holy shit, is this real?
Yeah, and it's funny because like even you go back to the classic Dracula, I got that on DVD, and it's black and white, of course, and everything, and you see how primitive it used to, the films used to be back then, but there's still something classic about it. I still love those films because they seem so real. I mean, you got the black and white element, but then especially if you see these films as a little kid, you know, like you say. I mean, like first time I saw Dracula, I thought it was a real vampire, you know. and the color, I don't know what it does, but like even you know, a few years in the 90s, I remember they tried to revive. They had a new Monsters TV show was with different actors and that they tried to revive it. It wasn't quite the same. First of all, it was in color, different actors. You can never.
It's kind of like even when you go back to like the Hammer horror movies, you know, that was like the step after Universal, you know.
Yeah.
And those were all color.
Yeah.
I didn't really think they were as good.
Yeah,
because they were color.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because in recent years, like the most recent one I think that Universal tried to recreate was the Invisible Man, and it was a decent enough film, but it just to me, like you're saying, there's really no way to kind of to beat the original, you know.
Yeah. And I think some of my other really cool horror movies that I really enjoyed was anything that was H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh yeah.
Most of his stories were way better than a lot of the movies that were made, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, the Reanimator series was awesome, and they did, From Beyond. That was a cool movie. And then lately, that one that just came out, The Color Out of Space, that was a freaking killer movie.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to check it out. So tell us a little bit about that film.
What's that?
The one you were just talking about, the most recent one that came out?
Oh, yeah, The Color Out of Space.
Yeah.
Got Nicolas Cage in there.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I never even heard of it. Wow.
Yeah, it is a trippy movie. If you've got there's this streaming service that's called Shudder. Have you heard of that?
No. I just got Netflix.
So it's like it's just like Netflix and all these other guys, but it's just a horror service, right?
Yeah, and I gotta ask you.
They got pretty much anything you want on there. It's like, have you ever seen the TV series Holliston?
No, never heard of it. Wow.
Oh, dude, that thing was written by Joe Lynch and Adam Green.
Oh, wow, Adam.
And they have Dee Snider.
Oh,
he's part of the show, and Otis from Guar.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like a horror sitcom.
Wow. Sounds like
it's really cool. Yeah, you should check it out.
Wow, and it's interesting because like you're saying, you bring up Rob Zombie, Dee Snider. Horror always seems to cross over a lot with the metal and the hard rock community. You know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of something I experimented a couple of years ago with my show was bringing in some of this like old horror that used to be played on the radio.
Yeah.
And mixing it with metal.
Yeah, and they seem to go for it, and it's kind of interesting. Now, let me ask you, Dan, like, what's your preference as far as like when you see a horror film or real scary? Does it matter if you see it in a theater or at home, or what's your preference?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, in the theater's a cool experience, but you've always got somebody's head in front of you, or somebody's talking, or
I
don't know. It's almost better at home if you had like a huge screen.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been getting into some of these movies that I'll find online, and I'll just throw my headphones on and watch it on the computer screen, and like turn the lights off.
Oh wow!
And it's just pretty immersive. It's all that really matters, you know.
Yeah. Just kind of to have that dark atmosphere, and now you'd also shared with me that you'd want to talk about some of the like famous horror villains like Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers. Who would be your favorite of those?
Yeah, I think what I think is cool is they have like like a top 10 list, of like who's who and of like slashers, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you would think this. I mean, where did they get this list? I think it was like from Bloody Rotten or Bloody Disgusting or something like that.
Yeah.
But it says like number 10 is Norman Bates.
Wow.
He had, it says that he killed about 20 people during how many movies? 4 movies?
Yeah, Psycho, yeah.
And then there's Angela Baker, which that name didn't really even ring a bell with me until I read that she was in Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I don't see. 55 people.
Oh, wow.
And then, Ghostface from Scream.
Okay, yeah.
He had about 49 kills.
Wow.
Hannibal Lecter.
Of course.
He was in a bunch of movies. Like 4 movies, I think they did.
Yeah.
I don't know if this includes like the original Manhunter movie.
Yeah. I don't know.
But he had 98 kills.
Wow, that's pretty good. yeah.
Chucky.
Oh, of course.
Chucky's pretty awesome. What did he do? I had his number right here.
Oh.
He was like in the 30s, 35 range or something like that.
Hey, Chucky, you got to catch up.
And,
yeah.
I mean, it just goes on and on. Leatherface.
Wow, How about Pinhead?
Get up into like number 4, like Freddy Krueger.
Freddy Krueger.
I expect him to be way up there, but he has like 42. He has 42. What do you want to call them? Verified kills.
Wow.
Where some of these totals are kind of like an estimate,
Yeah.
Victor Crowley, he's one of the cool slashers.
Yeah.
He's in this series of movies called Hatchet.
Okay.
And he's got about 50 kills.
Wow.
And then you get to like Michael Myers, and the count goes up considerably.
Oh, wow.
To 125 victims.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
And then Jason, of course.
Yeah.
He pulls in about 150.
Wow.
And then what's really cool is I was checking out another list. The Invisible Man.
Wow.
Pulled in 123 kills.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I was like, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there's one guy, though, who's killed more than Jason and Freddy.
Who's that?
Combined. You know who it is?
Who?
John Wick.
Oh, wow.
He's got about 300 kills.
That's amazing. Yeah, first of all, you wonder who thinks to come up with these lists and who sits there and counts all the killings. I mean, that's just amazing. The time that must have took.
I had a box set. There was a Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah.
And you could actually turn on a counter that would count the body count.
Oh, amazing! Wow.
So you see like this little bloody splotch up in the corner, and you see one.
Yeah. Now, when you go see a horror film, like, do the real gory ones get to you, or do you dig it even more?
It kind of depends on how they put the gore in there.
Yeah.
Because like some of them are just
kind of slasher movies, just blood.
Yeah, I mean, and then some of them like Hatchet, they do this stuff where they're like ripping off the top of a guy's head and it shoots out like a soda fountain. And it's just over the top, and they're making fun of the whole thing.
Yeah, it's just hilarious. I mean, and Chucky, the cool thing I think about Chucky for me is, the thought that this little evil-looking doll comes to life, and it's just a doll, and to think a doll could do all that,
Did you see the new Chucky?
No, I haven't seen the latest one, yeah.
So it's a little different. He doesn't get taken over by this voodoo guy.
Oh, wow.
It's actually a guy who is, it's like in this Chinese factory.
Yeah.
And he's being told that he needs to make so many products, and he's a little slow, and all the other people around him are making fun of him. His boss is over beating up on him all the time, and so he decides he's going to make this one last doll.
Yeah, wow.
And he removes all the safeguards.
Oh,
then he jumps out that window.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
And then that thing just goes on down the conveyor belt, gets boxed, and sent on over.
I see, they keep it fresh that way, they keep it kind of original thing going, like, that.
It's a pretty cool twist on that old story.
Wow. And, I think my favorite's got to be Freddy, and I'll tell you why, because when I think of Nightmare on Elm Street, I also think of that song, Dream Warriors by Dokken. I don't know why, but sometimes you see a movie like that and you associate it with a song or something, and just can't get it out of your head.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what's cool is I was watching one of the Friday the 13th the other day, and I can't remember which number it is.
Yeah.
But Alice Cooper does like one of the theme songs to it.
Yeah. In fact, I think that was off his.
And so as one of the scenes, and I think it was that same movie, they're like driving down the road in this pickup truck trying to get away from him, and they got the radio on, and it's another Alice Cooper tune.
Yeah, I think that's off his comeback album in 1986 called Constrictor, and I think it was called The Man Behind the Mask.
Oh yeah, The Man Behind the Mask.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Alice, as you know, probably was really influenced by horror, and that's kind of how he came up with his character. And from what I know, he calls himself a rock and roll villain, not a rock and roll hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was putting together one of those shows the other night, I did the album Raise Your Fist and Yell.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that was another one. That was the second album where he followed like a slasher type of script, basically.
Yeah.
And Constrictor was the first time he did that.
Yeah, yeah, and you know it's
And other times he was just trying to freak you out with some really, really bizarre lyrics, you know.
Yeah, and I dig Alice for the simple fact that, you know, the guy's still doing it. He's got to be in his early 70s, and he puts on just the ultimate rock show if you've ever seen him live. And then on top of that, he continues to put out new music that sounds just as good as the classic stuff, you know.
Yeah. Have you ever seen him live?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's been a few years. The last time I seen him, I think, was when he was touring with Queensryche when Jeff Tate was still in the band, and Ronnie Dio was with Black Sabbath. You know, so that's a number of years ago. But yeah, he was good. I mean, and he still is, I know. Just the ultimate. I mean, he was the best one I saw that day, if you can believe that, next to Black Sabbath.
Definitely.
Yeah, and
I've seen him like 3 or 4 times, and it's just like every time I see him, it's just an incredible. It's an experience.
And what I dig about it is like a lot of his albums, as you know, are based on concepts. They're concept records, and he kind of brings that to life. Like each song kind of takes a life of its own, and he kind of plays it out on. It's really rock and roll theater, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, some cool stuff. I mean, definitely one of the pioneers of like shock rock, horror rock, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. I mean, he even predates Kiss. If you know anything about Kiss, as I know you do. Originally, like Paul Stanley was like all the guys in Kiss went to see Alice, and they were really impressed with Alice Cooper's show. But it was like, okay, now instead of just one guy getting dressed up in the band, we're all 4 gonna have a character and get dressed up, and they kind of went over the top. But yeah, Kiss was kind of copying what Alice was originated.
Right. Did you ever hear the story about how Gene Simmons was trying to sue King Diamond?
Well, actually, I think he did, and that's why King Diamond in the around 85 or 86, I think it was, kind of altered his makeup. And if you think about it, I mean, I used to think, because I was like, I was a teenager back then, and I used to see pictures like in rock magazines of King Diamond, and first I did think it was Gene Simmons, but then I noticed, oh no, the hair's different and everything. But if you look close enough, he did kind of resemble him, but yeah, I was surprised that he would do that. and oddly enough, as you know, because I've seen you talking about the new Ace Frehley album on your show on the Graveyard Shift site, and it's kind of amazing that Ace is able to still kind of use his makeup like on his album covers and stuff, because he unlike Peter Criss, he didn't sell his, he still owns the rights to his makeup, which is kind of interesting. Very smart on his part, I guess.
He didn't sell his soul, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was watching this video of Ace Frehley, and he was going through some Kiss albums, right? And I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Creatures of the Night.
Yeah.
Is that the one where it's kind of a dark cover?
Yeah,
you can kind of just see their eyes.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about it is,
he goes, hey, they used my face on the cover, but I wasn't on the album.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know the story behind that, Dan, but it's kind of interesting, because when the album originally came out in 1982, Ace had just left the band. Yet, like, if you've seen the original blue cover with him and Eric Carr on the cover, and they're in their makeup design, okay, he didn't appear on that. And then in '85, for whatever reason, the band decided to re-release the album, but they changed the cover with Bruce Kulick, who did not play a lick on the album. At the time, I remember a lot of people were saying, okay, maybe they went back and remastered, or Bruce did some guitar on, they re-recorded some stuff, but it's the same original recording. And then of course the original version was more popular, so So that's the album that's in print again, but one with Ace on the cover. So Vinny actually plays on most of the guitar tracks on that, but he wasn't really an official member at the time of the recording, so they put Ace's face on the cover, which kind of is interesting,
Right. Yeah. They did some crazy stuff trying to slide people through, saying, "Oh, it's the same guy."
Well, you know what's funny about that is back in the day, because if you remember, this is pre-internet. Kiss really had a mystique to their look and the image, and they had a real thing about not wanting anybody to catch any of the band members like out of makeup and all that.
Right. And they had a bandana over their face.
Yeah. They were really protective about it. A lot of times when Ace started like getting heavy in his drug use and his drinking, they would bring in Bob Killick to play on some albums, but they had kind of a gentleman's honorary clause or something where Bob would, I'm not going to tell anybody I played on the records. We'll just make everybody think it was Ace, And they really wanted to protect that image, like everybody was. And now we know years later, Bob Killick played on some albums. Ian Talk played on some of it albums like Dynasty and Unmasked wasn't Peter Criss. But they were real protective of that back in the day, so much that when Peter left, I'd heard that Carmine Appice actually wanted to join Kiss, but like Gene told him, "Oh, everybody knows what you look like, Carmine. We're trying to have a mystique to who the band is and what we look like." That's why when Eric Carr joined up, they got an unknown guy,
Right.
Yeah. And we were also, while we're on the subject of Kiss, going to talk about Kiss Meets the Phantom. First of all, what did you think of that film? Because it came out around September 1978. A little before Halloween, but for Kiss fans back then, what a great Halloween treat, huh?
No doubt.
Yeah.
That was just I was actually on a vacation with my parents, and I got to watch that in like a hotel.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a very cool thing for a Kiss fan to be able to see.
And it's funny because you watch it years later, and it's kind of campy, but I still dig watching it. Every once in a while you catch it on TV. Since then, they released it as part of a History video series. You can get it on there. It's one of the extras. And I know a couple years later, like in 1980, they released it in Europe, throughout Europe, and movie theaters in Europe. And they called it, I don't know why, but like Attack of the Phantoms. And they took some of the original music out and added different songs. So it was a little different, but for a European audience. But when you're a kid and you're watching Kiss Meets the Phantom, you're not really paying attention to every little detail. But it's interesting. If you go back and you watch the film, you can kind of pick up on these little things that we know now. Like, for example, I didn't really pay attention to the talking voices. Like, I didn't realize that's not really Peter Criss's voice. They dubbed some other guy's voice over him because he wouldn't show up to do audio looping or whatever, and he denies he didn't show up for that. But if you listen to it, that's not Peter's voice. And when Ace wasn't showing up for some of the parts, they actually got a black guy to kind of double for him, which they're just little things. If you go back and you look or you listen, okay, yeah, I see that now. But as a little kid, you're not going to pick up on that kind of stuff. Yeah, and then they also in Kiss Meets the Phantom, when the band is kind of fighting themselves, like the Demon Kiss, they play this song, Rip, Rip, Rip and Destroy, but that's kind of a little extra thing they never did, and I don't know if people realize that film was filmed at Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, which if you see the wood roller coaster that goes like that you see throughout the movie, they've since torn that down. Colossus. Have you ever been to Magic Mountain?
We actually we went down to Southern California. Probably I don't know, maybe that same year.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see the park. So as we were driving down, we were able to kind of take a look at it, and we just kind of kept on going.
Yeah. And it's amazing because right around, and also 1978, I think right after the movie came out, the 4 solo albums came out. And part of the reason I heard they did that was during the filming of Kiss Meets the Phantom, that's when they started having a lot of the friction between Gene and Paul and Ace and Peter. And I guess Ace and Peter were constantly throughout the filming of the movie threatening they were going to leave the band. And so Bill Aucoin, the manager at the time, it was his bright idea. Why don't we have each guy kind of record their own album? And we'll still kind of release it as them as Kiss albums. It'll have a look like it's, it's like, say, Kiss in the Corner, and it'll say like Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons, or whatever. And that's the whole reason they did that. Now, I got to ask you, Dan, of the 4 solo albums, do you have a favorite?
Ace Frehley's.
Interesting. A lot of people say that. Now, why for you? I got to ask.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, like, did you just think he had the better songs?
I like it because it's out of the 4 albums.
Yeah.
I think it's the more solid rock and roll solid album.
Yeah.
It's got what, New York Groove, Fractured Mirror.
Yeah.
Just some really just awesome freaking tunes on there.
Yeah, rip it out.
I was actually listening to the albums the other day just to kind of refresh my memory.
Yeah.
And I kind of remember at least as a kid, I thought I liked them in this order.
Uh-huh.
I thought I liked them: Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, Paul Stanley, Peter Criss.
Uh-huh.
All right. But when I listen to them now, I like Ace Frehley's first.
Okay.
Paul Stanley's is, I think, maybe even better than Gene Simmons's.
Yeah, yeah.
And Gene Simmons, I think his would come in third, and Peter Criss is in fourth. I don't really dig Peter Criss's solo album.
It's funny
I didn't even really dig his stuff when he was out, with his makeup off, and he was just doing the Peter Criss band and stuff like that. I didn't even really dig him then. He was just kind of gone, like, soft.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of reason for that. Like, a lot of people, even you go online and you see people cite the Ace Frehley album as their favorite one, and I think that's for a lot of reasons. I think number one, probably of the 3 other guys in Kiss, Ace was the one that didn't really get to sing too much, and part of that I've heard him even say was because he didn't think he was much of a lead singer back then until he got the chance to record Shock Me, and he kind of, oh wow, okay, I'm not such a bad singer, but so I think that's why, because up until that point all we heard from Ace Frehley was Shock Me. And interesting enough, if you go back to early Kiss, he wrote some of the.
He didn't do another recording with them until he did like Rocket Ride.
Yeah, that's true. But what's interesting? If you go back and you check out some of the early Kiss stuff, for example, I don't know if you realize most of the time, because he didn't think he was a lead singer back, he didn't feel comfortable singing lead, so he would most of the time give his songs to either Gene or Peter to sing. For example, if you go back all the way back to the first Kiss album, Gene Simmons sings Cold Gin. Now, if you think about Gene, who's always talking about he's never done drugs or alcohol, how could a guy like that sing Cold Gin? It makes sense. That's an Ace Frehley song. That's why when he recorded, Origins Wine a couple of years ago, I dug the fact that he finally re-recorded Cold Gin with his own vocals because it sounds so great,
Well, that was the thing that, like, when we were, we bumped into him in a bathroom in, like, Salt Lake City. He was getting ready to play this little small convention hall, and we had never seen him before.
Yeah.
We didn't know what he looked like without any makeup on or anything like that. And he comes walking out of the stall as me and my friend are standing there smoking a doobie. And he's just like, "Hey guys, what's up?" And we stood around. We're like passing it around to him. We're all talking, and we're talking about Kiss. We're talking about it's kind of crappy how they like trademark everything and won't let him do his act.
Yeah.
And he says, "Yeah, it'd be cool to watch him burn his guitar and play Cold Gin, huh?"
Yeah.
And Ace is standing right there, and he's like, "Yeah, that would be freaking awesome."
Wow.
And he's like, "Well, I gotta take off, guys. I'll see you guys later."
And did you even? When did you?
Didn't know who he was.
And
when did? No idea who he was.
And when did you realize?
So we sat there, we finished it up, and it's like, "Well, it's going out."
Oh,
and so
wow.
we're standing there.
Yeah.
And it's time for the show to begin, and so we worked our way to where we were like right there at the front of the stage.
Yeah.
And when he came out, he was standing center stage, and he was playing his act out there, and he's kind of looking around, and he looks over and he sees us, and he comes over and starts playing in front of us.
Wow.
And so
awesome.
then he goes, "I'm going to do a special tune for my 2 friends right here in the front row."
Yeah.
And so he cranks out Cold Gin and burns his guitar.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. And you know,
it's really freaking cool.
yeah, and you know also too. I don't know if you realize that "Strange Ways." You know that that's kind of a cool sounding tune, and that's oddly enough an Ace Frehley tune. The Peter Criss saying, I kind of wish that Ace would do a new version of that. You know, just because I think it would be such a cool, very much like Parasite. Parasite, Gene Simmons sang, but that's an Ace Frehley tune, and he did that too on Origins 1 with John 5, which was a pretty cool sounding tune. If you've had a chance to hear it, I don't know, but you should check that. I'd say Paul Stanley, the reason so many people like that album, it's probably the most Kiss-like, you know, of the four. And I got to ask, what did you think of Bob Kulick's playing on that as far as, you know, lead guitar player?
What's that?
Bob Kulick, you know, Bruce Kulick's older brother, he's the one that played all the lead guitar on the Paul Stanley album.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did an awesome job.
Yeah. And, you know, oddly enough, people don't know that right before he played on Paul Stanley's album, he was actually in Alice Cooper's touring band. He toured with Alice on the Welcome to My Nightmare tour. And then him and Bruce, they toured with Meatloaf after that. So Bob Kulick, he was quite the guitar player. I don't think he really got the recognition he deserved, but he was a cool player, I thought. And what a cool career he had, kind of, you know, playing on all these different albums, like with you know, Lou Reed, Diana Ross, Meatloaf. I mean, he's a guy that could really do it all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was checking out some older guitar players the other day on like YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
And, oh man, I don't remember the song I was watching, but freaking Rory Gallagher, he freaking kicks ass.
Oh yeah, you know, who was a pretty good guitar player too back in the day that really kind of people have forgotten about is Rick Derringer.
Oh yeah.
I mean, back in the day he was playing with Edgar Winter, and he produced all those great Edgar Winter albums. But man, what a and then he had a huge, you know, for a while he had a solo career of his own. But that's somebody that people really forget about.
Yeah, that was some cool stuff. You know, they had I don't know, just another like pioneering type of sound. You know.
Yeah, even Edgar Winter. I mean, I kind of rediscovered a lot of his classic albums, and because when people hear Edgar Winter, they think of like Frankenstein or Free Ride, obviously. But if you dive into some of his deep cuts on the albums, I mean, it's amazing that a guy like that was ever a rock star. I mean, he wasn't the best looking guy, but I mean, he was hugely talented. I mean, he was a multi-instrumentalist. He's like 75, I think. He's semi-retired. He's still around, but
For some of the stuff that he played with his brother.
oh yeah. I mean, it's just amazing. But I mean, an albino guy like that would just, you know, he'd have all these great songs, and I mean, he wasn't your typical rock star, but that's what makes, you know, his story that much greater, because I mean, he definitely was a great songwriter, so you can't take anything away from him for that, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and then talking about, I would say, I like the Gene Simmons album just because Gene was always like my favorite member of the band. I mean, I remember when I first got into Kiss, first time I seen him like Breathe Fire and Spit Blood, I just thought it was, I mean, kind of talking about the whole horror rock music thing going together. Gene Simmons kind of personified that. I mean, he looked like the monster. I mean, they all looked like some kind of cartoon character, but Gene Simmons of the four, he looked like a monster. You know, he personified horror.
Yeah. And you know, if you think about it, all the makeup that's been on all the freaking rock stars, they've only really gone after two different artists, right?
Yeah.
It's been a variant of Alice Cooper or a variant of Gene Simmons.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because they obviously can't go after Alice because he predates Kiss, but like even the Misfits, I mean, they kind of had a similar look to Kiss, but I mean, they didn't look like the Kiss members, but it's same kind of like kabuki style makeup, but again, I dug it because it was different. It was different from what all the other bands were doing. Again, when you go to a show, you want to be entertained, and that's what makes a band like Kiss so great, because it's not just four guys in their jeans and t-shirts strumming the guitar. You know, you actually, like, if you go see Alice Cooper, you get the ultimate rock show. You know, you're getting your money's worth. You do not leave disappointed.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, like you said, it's funny because most Kiss fans, and I don't know why it is, are not too favorable of the Peter Criss album. And I think partly, like you said, Dan, it's because even before Peter joined Kiss, I've heard him talk in interviews over the years where he says I was much more of a jazz drummer. I had to, when I joined Kiss, I had to kind of become a rock drummer. So
right. And I would be okay if you listen to the Peter Criss album and it sounded like a jazz record.
Yeah.
Or a blues record, but it's just kind of like a soft pop record.
Yeah. I almost dare say that Peter Criss is a better singer than a drummer.
Oh, definitely. Black Diamond is an awesome freaking tune.
Yeah, if you go back to like not only Black Diamond, but like he was co-singing with Gene like on Nothing to Lose on the first album, Black Diamond.
Yeah.
All that stuff and Strange Ways, and then like he even did Hooligan. Like I loved a lot of the songs.
He had a cool rock voice. You know, he would have been better up front behind a microphone stand.
Yeah, and then that's
he had a really cool voice.
Yeah, and that's why like he was singing like from the very first Kiss album. Like if you go all the way back when they added the song "Kissin' Time" to the debut Kiss album. They all three guys kind of a trade off on the lead vocal, Gene, Paul, and Peter. And then Peter sang, like you said, Black Diamond, and then Hooligan later on. Now I did on his solo album, I did dig the cover he did of like Tossin' and Turnin'. That was probably the most, to me, the best song on the whole album. But then like he's kind of a jazz drummer. He's trying to he wanted, I think, to kind of do something different, have his album stand out, and boy did it stand out, because every person I've ever talked to or seen comment on it on Facebook or wherever online, they all say that's their least favorite, and I don't know why.
And I'm not saying by any means that it sucks.
No, it's just the most.
It's just not
a Kiss album. It's not a Kiss album.
What your expectations were.
Yeah.
You know, because you've heard him do all these rockin' tunes before.
Yeah.
I mean, but you heard him sing some ballads, you know, so you know he was he had that side to him.
Yeah.
But I expected more rock.
And like you said,
on the solo album, you know.
And he tried to, and then when he left Kiss and he tried to have a solo career, it was weird because, okay, I liked kind of the first two albums he put out. They were decent enough, but they weren't what I consider a Kiss album. And then like years later, like in the '90s, he put out he wanted to put out an album of like just ballads. Had like a cover of "Bring in the Clowns." They had one good track on it, like the title track, but I didn't really dig the rest. You know what I mean? And then he has this album supposedly that he recorded with like Richie Scarlett and John Five. I don't know what he's holding off releasing it for, but like, why wouldn't you release something like that? You know?
Yeah. You know what I think too, because like I don't know, about a year or so ago, I was reaching out to like some of the bigger rock stars, you know, trying to get like an interview or something like that, you know. And so I sent a message off to pretty much everybody at Kiss, you know. I was like, you know, everybody says that they're all fairly cool, except for maybe Gene Simmons.
Yeah.
But I figured I'd send them all a message, right?
Yeah.
The only one that sent me a response back was Peter Criss's wife.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And she pretty much told me straight up, unless I was going to pay for his appearance,
oh, wow,
he was not going to show up.
Oh, that's
And I'm like, well, that's because you're controlling his fucking life, bitch.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because
he may want to do these appearances. Maybe he wants to do all sorts of interviews, but she's not letting him do it.
It's funny you say that, because I remember like reading in Paul Stanley's book when Peter hooked up with her, and you know he's been married like 3 times. This is his 3rd wife. And anyways, Paul Stanley says some not too favorable things about like she was trying to control his every move and wanting to get involved in the song.
Like Yoko Ono of Kiss.
Yeah. And you know, once upon a time, there was a time when Peter Criss would have probably said, "Oh, sure, I'll do an interview with you." But like you said, maybe she controls him. And what's funny is about maybe 3-4 years ago, he did this show. He called it his final performance. Like he hasn't really performed since leaving Kiss, but he had a little bit of a solo career. I see him like in '95 when he went out and did that tour with Ace Frehley, but he never had a real successful solo career. So he didn't really, but he called it his final performance, and he said supposedly he videotaped and may release it at some point, but he did some of his solo stuff, some of his Kiss hits, but I'm like, final solo performance? You hardly ever had any solo performances.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I saw this old video, I don't know how old it was, but Ace Frehley was off doing his solo stuff. It kind of maybe a couple of years after maybe Frehley's Comet, and it looks like he's in some little freaking venue, or something like that. It's not a big place at all. And he says, "Oh, one of my friends is here tonight." Well, somebody comes out on stage and whispers in his ear, and you can hear him say, "What?"
Yeah.
And so he calls Peter Criss out, and Peter Criss comes out, and they talk, and he jumps back on the drum set, and they go to play a song, and he had to slow it down so much for him to keep up.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, in fact, I was reading also in Paul Stanley's book where around the time in 1980 before Peter left the band, and they were going to give him another chance to come back, and supposedly Peter Criss comes in, according to the way Paul Stanley describes it. He's trying to look like a music scholar. He's like, he has all these music stands, and he's like, he can't read a lick of music, but he's trying to make us think he can, Yeah. It's just funny stuff. But I gotta say, Ace, over the last several years, he's putting out better and better albums. I think since he's stopped drinking and that, he's become a better musician, amazingly, And I just gotta say, maybe on the next episode, you and I are talking about, we're gonna really talk about his new album Origins, because I think it's really the best thing he's done in years. And I'll tell you.
I was watching that same video where I was watching him review records, right?
Yeah.
He was saying that I wish I had known the date on this thing, but he said he was sober for the last 14 years.
Yeah, well, I think that's true. Yeah, that's fairly recent. But I think he's been sober for quite a while now. But I tell people, get the new album Origins 2, and my favorite track on there is 30 Days in the Hole with Robin Zander. I mean, Robin Zander just kills it on that.
That's an awesome tune.
And what's funny is the other band that kind of covered that too was the Dead Daisies, same year, but I kind of like the Ace version just a little better because I was a little more guitar to his version,
Yeah. It's a really cool album. I'm digging it. I played a couple of tracks off of it last night. The Politician, I think it's called.
Oh yeah, that's an old Cream. That's an old Cream song, and I think John Five plays on that. But yeah, that's one of my favorite ones too. And see, the great thing about the Origins too is he covers some, like he doesn't necessarily cover like he does a mountain song, but he doesn't do Mississippi Queen like you might expect him. He does one of the lesser known tunes, which is kind of a cool thing for people to check out music they maybe have never heard of before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a really cool album. The only time I've ever seen something that was that cool is Michael Schenker did an album called Michael Schenker and Friends.
Oh wow, yeah, he's.
And so he does a cover of. It's kind of weird. They'll get kind of like what Ace has done. He'll get John 5, and they'll cover a mountain song.
Yeah.
So he's got I can't remember his name. Iron Maiden's first vocalist.
Paul Di'Anno. Yeah.
Yeah, and they cover some Jimi Hendrix song.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
It's a really cool album.
Michael Schenker, he's another guitar player. I really I dig a lot of his stuff he's done, like you said, with MSG and Scorpions and that. It's amazing though that apparently him.
It's crazy. Have you ever listened to UFO Strangers in the Night?
Oh yeah, that's
their live album.
Yeah, that's the album. That's the album everybody points to.
What's really cool about that album is at the time everybody was trying to make another Kiss Alive album.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that meant taking it back to the studio and retracking everything except for the drums, right?
Yeah.
And Michael Schenker refused to do a single overdub.
Yeah. Now I got
that entire album all him.
Well, now that you bring that up, I got to ask you because again, talking about Kiss Alive 1, okay. For years, everybody thought because it sounds like you're right there. It sounds like it's in your face, but much to people's surprise, like you said, they went back in the studio and they overdubbed some stuff. Knowing that all these years later, does it even matter to you? Because it's just a great sounding album, right?
It's like I played Thin Lizzy live in Dangers the other night.
Yeah.
That one is almost 85% done in the studio.
Amazing! Wow.
I mean, you wouldn't think that.
Now,
but the only thing they say, he says, the producer, he says the only thing they saved was the drums.
Oh wow!
Even the crowd.
Yeah.
Isn't the crowd from the show?
And now I heard they're coming out with a movie about Phil Lynott. Do you think you'll go check that out when it comes out?
What's that?
They're coming out with a film or a documentary about Phil Lynott. I think either in October or November. Is that something you'd be interested in checking out?
You know, I got into their band, but probably not enough to pay to see anything about them.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was on TV or something, I'd watch it, but I don't think I would pay to watch a documentary about him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was an excellent musician, you know.
Yeah, kind of. Another one died way before his time.
And I don't want to just throw him into a lump with all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But he was just another addict.
Yeah.
He couldn't control himself. I mean, he should still be alive. Making music.
Very much like.
Same with like Kurt Cobain.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's real pathetic and sad. I mean, to think, I mean, he just can take his success and did himself in. Very, very sad. Pathetic.
That was like one of the bands that we got to meet as we were walking around in the Seattle sidewalks. You see him walking around and you're like, "Hey, Kurt, what's up?" "Oh, nothing. Just hanging out, watching some bands. Cool."
And what's funny is, or I don't know, funny but ironic, all those big grunge bands at the time, one by one, like, okay, Kurt Cobain kills himself. Lane Staley, a few years later, from I don't want to say killed himself, but killed himself by doing all his drugs. Eventually, came to his addiction. And then, a few years back, Chris Cornell from Soundgarden, he commits suicide. I mean, one by one, all these great bands that came from the same area and same time. The only one that's really hasn't suffered anything like that was Pearl Jam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. But getting back to Michael Schenker, he's one of my all-time favorite guitar players, and it's interesting to find out that him and his brother Rudolph from the Scorpions, they seem to like really hate each other.
Yeah, there was a thing I was actually watching, and it was the Scorpions. They're talking to the whole band over there, and they're trying to get Michael to join the band.
Yeah, he's not interested. He's got his own thing going.
And at the time, I think he was in UFO.
Yeah.
And he's just like, "No, I don't want to be in your band." And then they're talking to Michael, and they're asking him, "Well, what do you think about your brother?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, he's a great guitarist."
Yeah.
And he's going on. He goes, "It's just too bad, he was in that band."
Yeah.
I was just like, "Wow, he hates Scorpions really bad."
Yeah. That's funny. And, it's just hilarious. Now you also want to discuss before we wrap this up, Dan, today, like some Halloween memories. Like I can tell you, just one that comes to the top of my mind is being the Kiss fan that I am. I remember when I was maybe about 10 years old, dressing up like Gene Simmons. My mother helped me get made up, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're a Kiss guy, yeah."
I did the Gene Simmons one year, and then I did it Ace Frehley another year, and I think I had more fun dressed up as Gene Simmons for some reason.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what's funny. Like that's another thing about going to a Kiss concert. It's different in that way too. That you don't go to concerts most time and have people looking like the band members up on stage. I mean that's got to be amazing feeling for the guys up on stage, like to stare out in the crowd and, oh, there's a Gene Simmons, there's an Ace Frehley, there's a Paul Stanley.
Yeah, no doubt, right?
Yeah, and getting back to like great guitar players, Richie Blackmore, I gotta say, he's one of my all-time favorites, and the guys in that band too, that especially Ian Gillan and Richie just always hated each other so much that the last time he ever performed with the band, him and Ian Gillan got into it on stage, and he just stormed off the stage and never went back.
Yeah, there was
Yeah, and it's funny because you listen to stories like that, and it's amazing that when you have musicians that hate each other or they don't get along, or there's a lot of friction between the two guys, it sometimes makes for great music.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he made Richie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Yeah. Yeah. And
he didn't want to be underbilled anymore. He wanted to be the star of the show.
Yeah, and even I heard Ronnie Dio, years ago talking about how much he hated Richie. He says, no, I never play with Richie Blackmore again. He's an awful human being. He goes, I've seen how he treats the people who work for him. No, I would never want to be on stage with that guy again. It's amazing. A guy like Richie, I guess, as great of a musician is, he's got an ego, but then when you got talent like that, how could you not? You're right.
Right. Yeah. I watched an interview with him, and it's like at a bar. And he's just sitting there. He's got a beer in front of him, and he's just talking about everything.
Yeah.
He's just kind of spilling his soul.
Yeah.
And I kind of got a little bit more respect for him then, because you kind of got to hear his side of the story, and not just everybody bitching about him,
Yeah.
And he went from being this freaking heavy metal guitarist to playing like this Renaissance music with this other chick.
Yeah. Well, actually, the chick is his wife. Her name is Candace Knight, and if you listen to Blackmore's Night, she's the one that does the lead singing in that. And I'll tell you, it sounds nothing like Deep Purple or Rainbow.
No, it doesn't at all.
I'll tell you what, though, it surprised me because his publicist sent me a copy of one of their CDs, and I thought, okay, it's Richie Blackmore. I guess I was kind of hesitant to listen because I knew already it didn't sound nothing like Deep Purple or Rainbow. But I thought, I'll give this a listen. And I don't know that I'd go out and buy every single album, but I thought for what it is, it's pretty decent. Okay, I think if people are open.
Technically, there's a lot of stuff going on in there, but you gotta have a hugely open mind for music to enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, Dan, I enjoyed doing this again, and I'm going to do my best to get this up before Halloween. Do you have anything else you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
No, man. Thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Okay, so you and me will email back and forth before we do it next month. But we already got some great ideas for the next show. Let people know, but we're not going to let you know exactly what it is because Dan and I are still going to be in the process of coming up with ideas for an entire show. So thanks for checking out the Music Crypt, and Dan Montgomery, you have yourself a good day, and thanks for doing this. It's been great talking to you.
Well, thanks, Jason.
Okay, bye-bye. Have a good day, Dan.